So, welcome, friends. We are walking the talk, and we're in episode 17 today. And the content or our conversation is being sparked by a meeting that I attended over the weekend. So, I was a speaker at a conference over the weekend, and it was all around preparation for the workplace and the workplace of the future being more of a skills-based oriented space. And I was presenting some of the data that had come from about 1,000 leaders of companies of 5,000 employees or more who had been talking about the skills gaps that they were seeing inside their organizations and the skills that they were looking for and how they needed to fill these in order to be more innovative and increase their results. This really made me think about what are we doing in our families? What are we doing in our education systems that is preparing our kids for this workplace? Because at 18, they'll maybe go to college or they'll maybe already start in the workplace. But these skills that are already being discussed are super important for us to know that our kids have them, because they're not only workplace skills, they're life skills as well. So the two that I'm not going to talk about hard skills because that's a different topic. But what I want to talk about is those human skills or durable skills or soft skills, because they're not soft. So let's talk about them as being human skills. And the two that are most missing and most required, to the number of 60% of leaders say these are missing in their organization. So this is a big, big number. So the first is critical and strategic thinking. And the second is problem solving and decision making. So what I want to talk with Marelise about, and what we want to kind of throw backwards and forwards a little bit, is how are we in our homes preparing our children for their lives today and their lives in the future? Because these four core skills are life skills that we obviously use them in the workplace as well, but we use them in our day-to-day living. And thinking about what are we already doing and what can we be doing that is increasing the chances that our kids, through these growing years, from childhood to adult, they arrive at 18, 19, 20 with these skills already not necessarily learned 100%, but they've got the basis of them. They're able to act in the workplace. They're able to study better. They're able to participate. So I'm going to throw it to Marelise now.
Isla, when you told me that you want to talk about this, I was so excited because this is something that I cannot possibly emphasize enough when I speak to parents. And obviously, I deal with parents with younger children. But that is something that I realized once I had my own kids. We very much grew up at a time where you are told you do this and you do it like this, and this is what it looks like, and this is what it's supposed to be. And, there was a very clear, direct way of how to address literally anything. And I think that was more to ensure that your children followed a certain route that would probably be less embarrassing and with kinder consequences. But what I realized, and this is what I learned through experience and not so much through courses or anything, but I saw the value of that, is the difference it makes when you tell a little child how to do something and how to go about it, and when you actually sketch the scenario, you identify what the possible problems would be, and you ask them for their input on how do they think one needs to solve this. And this can be very simple things from the age of 2 or 3. Really simple things. The thing is, some very clever man once said the biggest difference between an adult and a child is an adult supposedly understands the consequences, where children don't. So for me, it was a question of, from the earliest possible age, identify what it is that you're looking at. Explain to them the different ways in which this can pan out. What are the possibilities here? And ask them, what do they think? How do they see this happening? Because I think from the earliest age that you can engage their thinking and get them to participate in the problem solving, that is first prize. It's never too early. You will be amazed how creative they can be from a very, very young age. And we see that with all the nonsense they get up to sometimes. So use that.
Yeah.
Channel that energy and enthusiasm and boldness, and help them understand how their actions lead to certain consequences, and help them understand why thinking in a certain way could possibly be more beneficial for them than thinking in a different way. Because I think, the sooner you flip that switch and just get that activity going, the better for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wholeheartedly agree. And what I saw kind of working in elementary school environments was parents just taking over everything. So taking over all of the decision making to the point at which a child doesn't even know what it feels like to think for themselves because they're not allowed to see the consequences of their own thinking. Um, and I think that as I totally agree with you, 2, 3 years old, they're completely capable of deciding, what do I want to wear today? You don't have to pull out the whole closet, but you can absolutely put out 2 selections of clothes and let them decide.
Options, yes.
That's 101. But so often we as parents, we feel such a time crunch in everything that it's easier for us to do it ourselves.
Yes.
And we miss golden opportunities. And then what I see happening is, because we haven't put the groundwork in to help a child from a very early age start to understand how to make some decisions, how to make their own decisions, or how to see consequences of things. We haven't helped them. And then if we suddenly say they're 12 and we're suddenly expecting that, and there's no foundational material to build on, it doesn't go well.
No, it really doesn't. And the confidence that it instills, because they know how to think about something. You're never going to know all the answers. You're never going to know all the possible outcomes. But the moment you learn how to think, everything doesn't become so overwhelming and scary, because in this situation, this is how I need to approach it. This is going to give me a better result. In that situation, I must possibly look at this and that. And I think what it does for the child's worth and value and confidence, and I just think it's the biggest favor you can do for your child. And what that then, the kind of calm and confidence it also instills in the parent, because you can't possibly always be there to help save them from whatever comes their way. So if I did teach them how to approach things, how to look at things, to try and help them avoid certain disasters, and then make peace with what they do know, and then just help them, support them, and try and understand with them everything else that happens. It's amazing what a difference it makes. It it's a total game changer. And um, there are lots of examples I can state, but I really, I cannot encourage people enough to do that because we weren't raised with that kind of curiosity. And if we as parents can just help them embrace whatever comes their way with a certain feeling of confidence and understanding, that's the best thing I think you can teach your child. I really believe that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. And I think looking at these, for me, looking at the statistics, because as you know, I'm a kind of a numbers nerd and I'm a neuroscience nerd and all that stuff, but looking at the data and realizing that probably the a lot of these missing skills also come from fear and anxiety
Hmm.
to make the
Yes,
wrong decision. So
yes.
unfortunately, what we're teaching in school is there's really only one right answer.
Mm,
And what is required for life is the
mm,
understanding that there are multiple answers, multiple paths. It's about making a decision to follow one and then having the ability to be flexible, to pivot, to know I'm on this journey, I'm on this road, but it's not working the way I want. How do I now step back, look at it differently? What new decisions do I make? The
mm,
reality of us not helping our kids to be able to understand how to do that
mm,
is that we have 60%, and this data is from the US, but the same data is World Economic Forum, it's global. The same data is global. We're doing it all over the world. We've got this problem. We're taking over the decision making. We're overprotecting our kids to the point that they cannot think for themselves. They wait for us to think for them. And as a result, they're out on their own and they're independent. And it's a huge problem because they never learn these skills. So I'm like you, I'm very, very passionate about this because this is what I was doing when I was writing curriculum and training teachers in the school system. But it's just fascinating how a problem in one space keeps following us. It's if you don't solve it at the different points along the journey, right? We're on a continuum, everything's on a continuum. If you don't figure out how to solve these things as you're going, then they
mm,
will keep showing up. Right?
mm,
They don't go away until you fix them. So,
mm. And it's such a balance. I think one thing that absolutely blows my mind is what people are capable of thinking of nowadays, and children identifying as the strangest objects in the universe. If you haven't learned what is real, how to think, what is practical, what is good, what is helpful and constructive, you're either going to be so anxious that you can't do anything and frozen, or you are going to create a different kind of reality that is so far removed from logical thinking that, that's the other problem that is also created. So I just want to appeal to anybody listening to this. Please help your children think about things, give them the space to really consider what you're saying, allow them the space to develop their own thinking within the parameters that you give them so that they don't completely go off the charts, but actually their thinking remains rational and logical, but they can find their own way in there and they will be fine. They will be
yeah.
fine because they've learned what is good for them, what is uplifting and constructive, and what is going to promote who they are
So
in the best possible way.
you bring a thought to mind that is we didn't learn from social media, right? We didn't have all of this noise, all of this access,
Yes.
so to speak. So if we as parents are not directing the thinking, and it's not about, you don't have to think like me. I mean, it's not about that. And I'm
Yes.
all for teach your kids to think for themselves. They're going to think differently from you. And you want that in many cases, you
Guaranteed.
know? But if
Mm.
you're not helping them navigate their own thinking and understand how to, they're going to get led from somewhere else. So you want to be the teacher. You don't want social media or some crazy out
Yes.
there
Yes.
to be their teacher.
Mm.
So, and that's probably, I'm working more in the teenage space where it's all about, for me, it it's all about, it's age 18, and have you really thought through as a parent, what are your goals for your child at that point? And have you then put in place a plan that you know that they're going to be capable of, to the extent that you've helped them, of making good decisions, of leading their lives. But I think that there's a period of time that's probably this kind of 10 to 13 where the external world can become so noisy that if you as a parent have not already started to put a lot of this thinking in place, and then you're not helping them navigate what they're seeing in the outside world and understanding how to think about it, it becomes a huge problem later on. So
Yes.
anyway, that's my thought.
And it doesn't have to be an hour a day. Nobody has the
No.
time for that anymore. It doesn't have to be an hour a day sitting around the dining room table discussing life. This is what happens while you are waiting for the kettle to boil, while you are driving to school. Just talk about any random stuff, because in the way that you discuss it, in the way that you address strange things that are happening, in the way that you just talk like normal people, they very soon pick up, oh, okay, this is actually a much better option than that is. Simple things. I would fetch my child from school, and there were always naughty boys in the corner doing all sorts of things. And sometimes I would sit there and wait for him to get into the car, and I'd say to him, did you see what they're doing? And he'd say, yes, Mom, I know. And I would be like, so didn't they want you to join them? Didn't they? And he said, Mom, I'm not stupid. I would never do that. Things like that. It doesn't have to be this serious conversation
Yeah.
every time. It's just in passing little comments. It's amazing where they can land.
Mm.
And if you do it with a loving, supportive attitude, and they know you're just trying to have their backs and you're just trying to support them, you'll be amazed what comes out.
Mhm.
Never underestimate the value of a good 5-minute conversation. It really can change so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. And then the other piece to add is use humor when you can with your kids,
Yes.
especially with your teenagers. Oh my God.
Yes.
If you can somehow muster the humor to make a witty comment that
Mm.
really
Mm.
lightens the situation around something that could be potentially heavy, we all respond to humor and we remember things that were humorous. So if you're looking to make a point, find a way to make it humorous and your point will stick. So that's
Yes.
another, we tend to
I
get so
so
serious,
yeah.
so serious.
Life is very serious, and
Life
it's
is
it's
very serious.
crazy best of times. So just try and make it memorable.
There you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
positively so.
Of course, yes, there's enough drama. No, but
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I agree. I agree. Okay, so I think we should just kind of leave it
Yes.
here. It's a big topic,
Okay.
obviously.
Mm.
Lots of opportunities to think about it further. But
Mm.
thanks for your wisdom today. And I'm going to let you close us for today.
Mm. Thank you. I want to, there's so many examples that I can mention. I don't want to, I don't, yes, I don't want to keep you with that. But what I want to encourage you to do, if anything has worked for you, particularly well, they were standout moments that you just felt like, wow, I really had a victory there with my child. Please comment, please share it with us, because I think we all need to be encouraged in different ways. Sometimes, someone says something that you've just never considered before, and yet when you do it yourself, it actually changes so much. So yes, let's share. Sharing is caring. And have an amazing week, everybody. It was lovely to speak to you, Isla. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Always wonderful to speak with you too, Marelise. But I want our audience to notice it's broad daylight here for me, and it's dark for Marelise. So
Nighttime. Yeah.
our conversation crosses continents. So no matter where you're listening from, we're all living the same kind of experience in many ways. And I think that's important to remember.
You're
Anyway.
never alone.